Hey everybody, thanks for listening to Untitled Car Project, show 51, part 2 of the Brad Spring special. Woo! Thanks for being here, Brad.
Welcome back.
Glad to be here.
Hi, Brad.
Nice. As always, follow the show on social media, follow the show on your podcast app. Just hit share it with your friends, share it with your family, only the ones you don't like. Mm-hmm. And you can reach out to us at untitledcarproject@gmail.com or hit us up on Messenger, and I will send you Grant's phone number.
Yeah, I get to talk to people.
This week on the show, well, we're going to talk about some project car stuff because that's kind of what we do. Mm-hmm. And first off, I want to mention, as last week we talked about the new build challenge.
Yay. It's going along really good so far.
I just wanted to remind everybody that it is... what are we going to do it in 2 weeks? Oh, I just
2 more weeks until it's due.
See that? That was cool. The Ultimate Road Trip Cruiser Challenge. So you got to build a cruiser car. You got $25,000. There's all kinds of stipulations.
Yeah, I know you've been using those against me.
Not going to go back and read all of those, but if you want to know what the rules are for the challenge, go back to last week's episode and check that out. Mm-hmm. It's somewhere towards, I don't know, it's in the second hour. Somewhere in there, hour and a half.
And if you can't find that, it will be posted on our social media for the rules.
You're going to do that?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Good job.
I have been doing that.
You'll see that in 3 weeks after the challenge is over.
Oh, God, I hope so.
You know that's how he rolls.
Yeah. I got to focus on my tank, you know?
It's going to ride really well. Suspension counts.
Full luxury.
Comfort counts.
Yeah.
Leather interior.
Got a full sofa in there.
I've got
Is
a
there
couple
any,
really good ideas.
So do I.
Is there any windows? Like,
You cut them out with a saw blade.
no,
No?
not in the tank.
Yeah, you can.
No.
What?
Have you... Okay, never mind.
Okay.
Never mind.
You guys
We're going to get sideways
Never
really
you'll
fast.
just have to see. Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So, this week's Project Trucks. Jeremy, you're up.
I
Project
am.
Trucks.
So, since you're back...
Yeah.
We were starting to get into the diesels. What?
Real fast.
What?
No.
We've gone 51 episodes and we haven't even introduced ourselves.
Oh,
That's the first time we are doing that, sir.
let's not do it.
No.
No.
We can't break that.
Dude, if they don't know who we are by now, okay, fine. I'm Jeremy Molt.
I'm Rob Spring.
I'm Grant Gonzalez.
And I'm Brad Spring.
Whoa!
Yes!
Okay.
All right, so...
I just got so excited to move on.
I know.
You know?
I know. Well, the diesel is super exciting. Mm-hmm. That's what we're going to talk about now. So, I had a lot of ideas for this, right?
Okay.
And I've seen some really cool stuff. Actually, in the last episode, there was a comment made, and I think it was your 12 valve versus 24 valve versus the 6
Cummins motors.
Yeah. And one of the projects I have seen somebody do was a 12 valve stuffed into a 90s. What was the 90s Dodge
2500.
full size SUV?
Oh, the Durango? No, the
No.
Dakota.
90s.
No. More like the K5 Blazer.
Did they have one
Oh,
that big?
With a box.
yes.
I remember the Durango.
I want to say it was a Power Wagon or a Power Ram.
It was a power something, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
I
Power
know what you're
Wagoneer?
talking about. It was like their Bronco, basically.
Yes, it was like their
Yeah.
Bronco or their K5 type Blazer, right? Full size, 2-door. Okay.
Okay.
Had the 12 valve in it.
Okay.
Totally built. All like Baja suspension, wide body flares, and the whole 9 yards, and gobs of travel. This
And it's
thing,
in your garage right now.
I wish, dude. I wish. I mean, legit, this thing like could mob deserts all day long, like legit. And that was kind of what I was interested in, you know. And I think there are other things that you could do as far as big diesels. And you know, I have a couple of really interesting questions that we'll get into here in a minute. But what kind of projects have you seen? You know, whether they've come in or, you know, you've worked on, you've seen, you've been interested in.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to see much as far as projects on my side of things. But because I love diesel and I like look into those things and whatnot, I've seen some interesting stuff. Just the other day, I was watching a video of somebody put the 4-cylinder Cummins motor in Crown Vic.
Interesting.
So a 4BT.
Yeah, the
Into a
4BT
Crown-
into a Crown Vic.
What's the displacement of that motor? Just because
That's
I'm not super familiar with it, but a 4-cylinder, it sounds like that's something nice and small you could put in a lot of stuff.
It was, yeah. So it was actually the 5.9, but 2 cylinders less, basically. I think it was around
3.8.
3.7 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
around there.
Could you put it in a mini truck? Could you put it in like one of those old Datsuns?
That'd be cool.
Because I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I think we should bring back the mini truck.
So
do, it's called the
4BT
Maverick.
was 4BT is a 3.9 liter 230
Okay.
Oh, it was
cubic
close.
inch.
Nice.
Yeah.
3.9. That'd
Yeah.
be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. It was not actually put in any vehicles, but it has become kind of iconic in that it is like the LS of the diesel world.
Oh, really?
That people, yeah. It's like
how readily available is it? Or like what did it come
like
out
you
of,
can
I guess?
yeah, I don't know, you can find them on Marketplace. Yeah, people
the
just
4 or
selling
the
them
6?
secondhand. The 4.
The 4.
Yeah, the 4BT.
I know there's a company in Ohio you can call and they have rebuilt 4BTs.
Yeah.
And I don't remember exactly what they were used in. I think there's some generators they were used
Yeah.
in, boats, smaller boats.
What kind of transmission are we talking that we can? Is there all kinds of
There's a lot.
conversions and stuff?
Yeah, I found a forum that they have gone through and given you all of the necessary information for like so many
Really?
different possible transmissions that you could put
Wow.
it up to. Yeah. So
So
pretty
when are you
much-
going to start your project?
yeah. As soon as I have the funds.
We've got a Corvette chassis. We can put one in.
Ooh.
There you go.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
Ghost car. We're going to put
Yeah.
a diesel motor in the ghost car.
There
Yeah.
you go.
That'd be funny.
That would be good. What
Um,
kind of power can you put out of that? I mean,
Gobs.
it's not
Gobs
fast.
of
well, they're
power.
fast, but I
they're
mean,
turboed, so I would assume.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a huge like horsepower thing. It's
Right.
mostly like
it's torque.
torquey and
Yeah.
fuel economy and
Yeah.
yeah.
But if you're running 24-hour lemons with a diesel
Yeah.
motor,
Well, plus if your like chassis is pretty light, then
Yeah.
you know it don't take much, right?
you could gear it way up. That way you've got a lot of top end, maybe.
I wonder
Yeah.
how much heavier that would be than say an LS or a 5.0 or something like that.
I bet it'd be pretty comparable. Just because
Probably.
the 5.0 is made of aluminum, same with the LS, right? Or
Yes.
some LS motors are made of aluminum.
The LS
But
is
the
aluminum block.
4BT is going to be cast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
So-
it's the other motors are way bigger though.
You guys carry on. I will look
Yeah.
it up.
Yeah,
I don't know. It would be interesting. I have seen projects where guys have put the 4BT into like rock crawlers,
yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah. I've seen that too.
A couple of Jeeps I've seen. One guy put one into a Toyota Land Cruiser.
I think I saw that same
Yeah.
project. That was
Old
and it was
Cruiser.
really clean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
It's surprisingly heavy.
how heavy?
Yeah.
750 pounds.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a
The
heavy-
LS7 is 405.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean that's even heavier than a Excursion V10.
Yeah. That's really heavy.
Damn.
I'm almost positive that's heavier than an Excursion V10.
Wow.
Yeah, so like something like the Crown Vic, I'm curious if what they had to do for the suspension or like, you know, what they had to beef up just in order to
Yeah, because
get
the Crown Vic,
that,
the motor in that was the 4.6, and that weighs about 480 pounds ish.
yeah.
So you're still putting $3 bills on it.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
not too bad. I mean,
Excursion
like,
V10.
realistically,
another
it's another
person.
person. Yeah.
Excursion V10 is 709.
So yeah,
It's still heavier.
Still heavy. Well, it's
Yeah.
a cast block, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, whew,
Holy moly.
yeah, and that's a 6.8 liter.
yeah.
Holy crap!
Yeah. That's surprisingly heavy.
But the
So much
reason
for that. You couldn't put it in a
But the-
Datsun. It would squish it.
The reason that is though is because more durability.
Yeah, for sure.
You know.
Yeah.
Your fuel mileage would be it'd be crazy too.
Yeah.
I mean, the 6 BTs you can get 18 to 28 miles to the gallon out of.
Right. So putting it in something really light.
Yeah,
Yeah.
put it in something light. It's a smaller motor, only 4 cylinders. I would assume you could probably get upwards or north of 30.
Yeah. Yeah, I just love the idea of putting diesel engines in weird stuff.
I like
Imagine
that
taking
idea
that.
too. I've never done it, and I don't look much into it, but I do think it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty durable motor, easily accessible. But what other little diesel motors? I mean, think about like your TDI Rabbits. Back
Yeah.
in the day.
Yeah.
Were those 3 cylinders?
Four
They were 4
cylinders, yeah.
But they were small, much
They
smaller,
were very
much
small.
lighter.
They
Yeah.
were 50 miles a gallon too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those things. I think one of those, that's more the motor you'd want to put in a mini truck or something like that.
Yeah, I've actually heard that the TDI swapped into a Ford Ranger is like a pretty
Oh, that'd
popular
be cool.
swap
Yeah.
now. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they make 210 horses.
Oh, that's
you know?
perfect.
Yeah.
That's more than that 2.3 liter the Ford Rangers used to
Yeah.
have.
130 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But to be fair, you can run a Ranger off everything. There's a video that's going all around the internet of a Predator motor from Harbor Freight
Harbor Freight motor.
powering.
Oh, yeah.
What, was that
It's
a 20 horse or was it?
no,
small?
it was a 5 horse.
Was it a 5 horse?
5 horse,
Yeah,
and
I
they
saw
used
it, yeah.
gearing to make it work.
That was really cool.
It actually moved. I think it would only do like 5 or 6 miles. an
No,
hour,
it did
but-
25.
Did it do 25?
Yeah.
Wow.
well, he had it.
that's
He had
insane.
it plumbed into the transmission of the truck.
Yeah.
So he could actually shift it.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So constant speed basically on the Harbor Freight motor and then just shift through the gears. Fifth gear, he's doing 25 miles an hour.
The motor's just screaming.
Yeah.
No, when it breaks, you just go back to Harbor Freight. But I don't know what happened. I'm sorry.
Gotta
Melted.
I need a new one.
Yeah.
ASAP.
Let's go with the 10 horsepower this time. Go with the big one.
Yeah, everyone thinks a go-kart's the way to go. No, Ford Ranger.
Ford Ranger.
But I mean, you could do other projects with that, like that. What motor was it? The
Rabbit. DDI.
Rabbit. Sorry, the 4-cylinder Rabbit motor.
Yeah.
You could put it into like a Suzuki Samurai.
Yeah.
That would be potentially a really decent little 4x rig.
Yeah. Yeah. That like a rock crawler. Yeah, that'd be really fun.
The last episode we brought up was the Ecotech. And that was one...
Did
when
we?
it-
I don't remember Ecotech.
Ecotech or EcoBoost?
no, Ecotech, which is the diesel for the...
Oh, the EcoDiesel.
Diesel, thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When that came out, I had high hopes for that. I'm like, cool, small displacement diesel, easy package.
Yeah.
More problems started arising with that.
I always wondered
Yeah.
why the Dodge didn't go with the 4BT instead of the 6 V6, right?
Yeah, and Cummins actually had a smaller displacement motor that they put in the Titans,
Yes.
which ultimately did not do well at all.
No.
There were like huge problems with that. So
Both of those disappeared rather quickly, didn't they? The Titan and the Eco, whatever they called that 1500.
yeah.
Diesel.
Did it really?
Yeah, it's not around. It was maybe a 2-year run.
Oh, the EcoDiesel for us?
Yeah.
No, it went through 3 iterations.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a sad story. It on paper, like you're saying, like it
Yeah.
seems like great idea,
When
yeah.
they came out, I was looking at between the F-150 and the 1500, and everything was gearing me towards the Dodge because the performance that EcoDiesel was giving out was unrivaled.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were supposed to have a 10,500 pound towing capacity.
Yeah, but the problem is just problems, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I think the biggest thing was the CP4, which everyone has had.
That runs
issues.
a CP4 pump.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
yeah. So,
Explain for the listener.
yeah. So
And me.
Hey, no, yeah. Bosch is the only manufacturer of the high pressure fuel pumps.
Oh, gotcha.
And so they came out with the latest iteration of their high pressure fuel pump, and all of the manufacturers across the board adopted this into their next generation of diesel engines.
Duramax, Cummins, Fords,
Yep.
specifically.
Yeah. And it turned out to be problematic with our diesel here specifically. It seemed to have performed better overseas, but something about our diesel and specifically biodiesel,
Yep.
just not having the proper like lubrication properties to maintain this pump. And they had like roller style little like lifters inside of it essentially that would bind up and the gear would self implode.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
And
So
then once that would go, you would immediately have metal directly into your engine.
Yeah, it just sucks it right.
I wonder if it's the additives in the diesel here.
probably.
Hey,
Too much
The
detergent.
maybe.
Yeah.
So what I've been finding, it's a very common problem on Fords. They're going through a huge lawsuit because it's existed since 2010, 11 with their first Super Duties. And the one thing that the first causing problems of it is low diesel. If you're the kind of guy who's just running your car or truck all the way to E and it's not getting that proper lubrication there, you're going to start getting metal on metal. And then it just goes from there. And then, you know,
Sorry, I got to run to the gas station. real quick.
Yeah, I need to go fill that up.
Jesus.
but that's also been a big concern, like you were saying earlier, was the biodiesel.
Yeah.
Because I did my research on that. When you get a higher percentage of biomass in there, it becomes a thicker diesel. And that's harder for that pump to push through.
Yeah.
Oh.
Totally.
It's thicker, but it's supposed to have better lubricating properties. So if you
gotta
heat
play
your
that
fuel
balance
tank,
then.
yeah, if you heat your fuel tank or your fuel lines,
But if you're already running from factory, it doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Or a cold start.
If you live in a warmer climate,
Yeah.
yeah, maybe
don't live in the freezing tundras of Alaska.
move down to Arizona.
Is,
Yeah.
is the CP4 pump at least easier to get to on those eco diesels?
Yeah, it was fine to get to, and once they finally came out with a recall for it, I really don't. They didn't tell us if they made any changes to the pump or if we were just putting another busted
Yeah.
part on, just to. So in the next I don't know 50,000 miles or whatever, we'll see.
Find out.
Yeah,
What most owners for Fords do is they swap to it's CPX. Is that what it's called? Or it's an aftermarket pump, but it runs on it fits exactly where the original pump would go, but it works on a different property. I think it instead of having a 2-chamber like you were saying,
yeah,
it's a 3-rotor spinning one. So
Yeah.
that way it's easier to lubricate and stuff, and those have been known to work.
Yeah, and I've also heard of kits that people can install onto the pump that if it does grenade, it's not destroying the entire fuel system. It's
Yeah.
just the pump.
The
So it's some kind of screen filter.
yeah, it's
something
called the
stops it from
pre-detonation kit, is what they call it.
pre your motor's about to explode.
Oh, yeah, exactly. And it is for when your pump fails.
Yeah.
It catches it right there.
Yeah,
It's
no doubt.
a filter right after the pump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it makes sense.
The problem. So we've thought about putting that on our trucks. We've had some problems with some because our trucks are F650, 750 bigger trucks. We've talked to the dealership about like that because they're brand new, still under warranty. If we are to put anything like that on our engine, they claim they won't cover that because it is. If anything was to happen on the engine, they could say, "Oh no, it's that." Even for something crazy. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
experienced
it's
that
so
bad,
dumb.
but-
Preventative maintenance. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it's an aftermarket part. Didn't come
Yeah,
on it. They
I know.
can't say, well,
I know,
this failed on that one.
it's still dumb.
So it's good when you're, after out of warranty, recommend that to everyone. That way you can immediately have that and beware because that way if you do have a cash or failure, you catch it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Well, and what Cummins ended up doing, because they adopted the CP4 initially too, was they just they made a retrofit kit to just go back to the previous style. They're like, we know this works, so
Yeah.
why change what isn't broken? And I think that was the best offering. When I found out that Ford hasn't really done
Yeah.
anything about this, I was like, what? Like, this is a very known failure at this
Yeah.
point. The fact that they haven't taken some sort of action seems wild.
I think
to me.
it's because they're so deep in the hole. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think they can recover if they say this is a big problem.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah. Well, because the F-150 is the best-selling truck in America, quote unquote.
Quote, yeah.
250, let's just say, is on that realm ish.
Yep.
How many billions of dollars is it going to take to say, okay, everyone come back in. We're going to replace CP4 pump, which isn't the easiest job to do, and then the cost of the part for that,
Right.
Yeah.
It's massive.
I mean, some of those recalls are huge jobs, and then to think about how many of those cars are already out on the market, and I can't understand how much they have to pay to get that done.
Yeah.
So there has to be a certain amount of percentage of failure for them to finally declare, okay, yeah, we're gonna take action on that.
Yeah.
But back to the EcoDiesel and the points of failure that made it not really take off is like that was the one big major one. But I think ultimately also is just the emissions. Like the way that truck is set up just ends up putting so much soot into the engine with no real way to just like clear through it. And you would just end up gunking up the engine and find some sort of failure point. And that's where we've seen most of the problems. The ones that do last, and we have seen them, are the people that are towing all the time.
Yeah.
And they're only highway speeds, like really putting that truck under its like.
So put a heavy load on that engine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Like doing diesel things with
Does it
the
just
truck.
not burn hot enough, like for the DPF filter to really get all that shit out?
Yeah, that's just it. I mean, it just really has to blow through everything, and it's just not really a city driving truck, which is what a lot of people ended up using it for.
Are you finding out then with a lot of newer trucks that idle time is a big killer of newer diesels with emissions?
Yeah, it's something that we have to submit anytime that we're doing some sort of investigation or claim into emissions systems being replaced. They ask us to take a picture of your idle and drive times. So it's something we definitely have to consider if there's a failure in that.
What would you recommend to any diesel driver then? Just occasionally put in tow mode, drive it like you stole it?
It's about the highway miles
Yeah.
for sure. I think, yeah, just if you are somebody who just commutes back and forth to work and you're not really hitting highways anytime, go to the beach. I don't know, take a couple hour drive or something. It's good to get your diesel truck on those long extended drives.
Yeah.
Diesels love to get into the power band and sit there
Yeah,
for like the day.
yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
And to go back to your comment, drive it like you stole it.
Yeah.
If you want your variable vane turbo to last,
Yeah.
you do need to do that.
Well,
Oh,
yeah. And you guys bash on me for doing that all the time.
No, I do. I do it every fucking chance I get.
that brings up another good point is the exhaust brake. A lot of people who own diesels do not use their exhaust brake, but same thing. If you want your variable turbo to actually last, you got to use that, and that's a great way to save life on your brakes, but also to continue to get it to move back and forth and not gunk up and break.
So this is kind of interesting. I know your Ford probably does it. I don't know about yours, but the exhaust brake doesn't come on until you hit the button on the dash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you get in the truck and just start driving, how often do you reach up and push that?
See, I-
All the time.
I use mine all the time just because
Yeah.
I tow that
'Cause
big
you're
trailer.
towing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
But
mine,
when
And
you
actually,
were
you don't have to press the button. Now, it works a little bit better if you do, but if you touch the brakes, then it'll
so mine turns
like
off.
a downhill.
really?
Yeah, mine turns off. So I have to push the button to get it into where the mode where if you touch the brake it turns on.
Oh, okay.
I have to push it again to get it to go into. If I pull my foot off the throttle,
Yeah.
it turns on.
Auto mode.
Mine-
Or in automatic.
So
Yeah.
mine goes, I've got a auto mode and then I've got an on mode
Yeah.
for it, and then it
Yeah.
goes on that one. Just to clarify for our listeners, we've got a
2018
2018
F250.
F350, same year.
and then I've got a 2023 F250. So each one with a 6.7 diesel.
2 lariats.
Yeah, the Dodges are the same way.
Yeah.
I don't understand why there isn't some sort of option to just automatically turn it on when you turn your vehicle on.
That-
It's
well,
Well,
was
and
one-
especially when you put it in tow mode, it should be automatic.
Yeah.
Well, that was one thing I was wondering about the truck, because mine, I only put on automatic when I'm towing or going downhill.
Yeah.
And I tow a lot with that truck. But I was like, is it going to hurt it just to put it on and leave it on automatic? I didn't know if there was because
Shouldn't.
again, with new trucks, they don't really come with manuals anymore to read through, So I was like, is this going to hurt it? And then it says, refer, or when you go through the manual, refer to the manual. I'm like, well, I'm on the manual.
Yeah, I like how easy it is to use all that stuff. Like, it's really a smart system. Cruise control towing, for me, is awesome
yeah.
because it takes care of downhill everything. Like, it holds you at pace. You don't have to ride your brakes or anything. It's freaking great.
Yeah.
Love that. Especially, because my trailer loaded is 12,000 pounds. So, that's a big push.
That's a good
Yeah.
sized trailer.
So, Yeah, I like that.
So
I like
12
those systems.
12,000-pound trailer. Truck probably weighs 8,500.
Yeah, whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, I think
60
mine's 81. You got a long bed?
No, it's short.
Oh, short
Yours
bed?
weighs that much?
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
81.
think it's. I don't
Mine's
think it's 81. I
8,100
think
pounds.
Mine weighs, I
think
think,
there's
when I
68.
weighed it was like 67 or something like that. Yeah.
So the last time I weighed it with everything that's in it right now,
Okay.
and me, it was 8,100 pounds.
Okay, so when you
gotta
topped
go on a
out of
diet
it, you
there,
lost
buddy.
2,000 pounds, right?
Yeah. I don't know where the extra 2,000 pounds is coming from, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had just emptied all the metal out of the back of it at the scrapyard.
Oh,
It's called the grocery store.
It was
Beer
the
cans
scrapyard.
go into
Well,
the cycling.
bullshitting you.
It weighed 90. No, it weighed 8,800 going in, and
Yeah, I
it
don't
was
think they're
8,100 coming out.
I mean, pretty easy to look up curb weight, but I think we did that before.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the curb weight isn't supposed to be 8,100 pounds.
No, it's not. I know we kind of got departed. We ended up going back to new rigs and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but that's all right.
Yeah.
I was curious because you mentioned like fuel rail pressure and that kind of stuff, and I remember it being really high. What is the pressure on those things?
Generally around 12,000.
Fucking insane.
Yeah.
12,000 psi.
Yeah. Yeah, when you're doing a fuel rail, you want to put your face right next
Right,
to the
yeah, I
bolt and
know.
start
Yeah.
cranking
Yeah.
it slowly.
Holy shnikes!
I've heard horror stories about fuel leaks on the high pressure rail, and it like goes through the firewall
Yeah.
into the cabin, and like
Blows through it,
yes,
like cuts through
Shears
Yes.
through it like
Yeah.
it's paper.
it. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh,
Well, and there, I cannot remember. I want to say it's like 16,000 or something like that on the new generation that they just
I thought it was
released.
20,000. I think on the
Maybe
Ford
so.
it's 20.
Yeah,
It's insane amount of pressure.
yeah.
Why? Why does it have to be so high?
Better
it-
performance.
Yeah, but what is it doing that needs to be so high? Is it the vaporization of the diesel?
Yes.
Is
Yeah.
that what it is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because
Just the even dispersion.
yeah.
Well, I understand, getting it in there, it's got to get there like now.
Yeah.
I understand that, but like
Yeah.
16,000 PSI is like, holy Jesus.
yeah.
that's getting
Like,
it
you
there.
couldn't do that with 900?
600.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
I mean, 250 psi that's pushing.
It's healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
16,000's that's a different level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whole nother beast.
For sure.
So let's jump forward.
Okay.
I had some
No,
questions
hang on.
about.
Curb weight.
Okay, do it.
I'm going to touch it. Depending on options, obviously, and I just used my truck as an example, 2018 F350 Lariat, 6,200 pounds to 6,980.
Yeah,
That's the
I
claimed
would
curb weight.
love to know why I was at
Their
81.
scale was off.
Oh, way off.
Way
Yeah.
off.
I mean, that's like 1,100 pounds, 1,200 pounds off.
And they probably gypped you on your
I was
metal recycling.
all I wanted to do was throw it away.
That's fine.
I didn't think I had enough to get anything out of it, but I did get like 40, 50 bucks out of it. Anyway,
Yep.
so
Moving on.
with that being said, that there's 16,000 psi, I had a couple questions about builds, right?
Okay.
So
yeah.
let's say a guy is building his brodozer and wants to
He wants to rip the rubber bands off of his 24-inch
he
wheels.
wants to smoke the rubber bands.
Yep.
What components is a guy going to go and buy to start tuning that diesel up, right?
God.
Yeah.
Can you even?
Bigger snail.
Oh yeah, you can.
Well, I understand that you can, but like giant injectors. So now you got to run 20,000 PSI.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. I the most common thing that I see is just tuning specifically. It seems like most diesels are already equipped to handle more power, and they're just kind of like under tuned up front, and maybe it's more just about getting that low end torque and not making it a race truck necessarily than it is anything else. But I think it'd be about more air at that point, probably, just getting a bigger horn going into your engine. I've heard of changing the way that the intake manifold is routing the air into all of the cylinders, more even dispersion, different intercooler, and yeah, some people do different filtering systems, better lift pump. So those are some things off the top of my mind that I can think of.
So that was an interesting comment. They're basically detuned, and you can tune them to get more power, more torque, all that stuff, right?
Without doing anything.
Without doing much of anything.
Yeah.
Now, at what point do you have to start worrying about the internals?
About double what
Yeah.
running
Right. 'Cause, I mean, you and I are running about 900 foot-pounds of torque.
Yeah.
That's it.
Grant's got 1,200
Stock.
stock. Right.
Yeah.
That's
That's what it's claimed.
Yeah.
that to me is
I think
that's
you
up
can,
there.
From what I've read, you can push them to double before you really have too much problem.
And that's
Yeah, but when would you
That's
need
a lot.
2,000 pounds of torque?
Yeah, you don't. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean,
Pulling the Statue
I'm
of Liberty,
sure-
maybe.
I'm sure pulling my trailer when it's fully loaded, I could benefit from another 400.
Yeah.
Get me up to 12 or 1,300 pounds. It would just get
pulling
me
a
on
pass, you'd feel way better about it.
a little bit. I mean, I can pull it now at 70 miles an hour. I don't have an issue, but it would be that much easier if I had more torque, right? Or getting on the freeway, I could do it that much quicker.
Yeah.
I don't feel the need to do that, but some people do.
You know the cheapest way to make power, make it go faster? You paint it red.
Threw up in my mouth again.
Some flames.
So
With
so
Crayola.
along those same lines of building something, right?
Yeah.
And we'll say this is a mild build, and we want to go into some sort of a wild build, like the 2,500 horsepower Cummins that they
Right.
built that exploded on the.
I see those videos all the time. They are kind of my favorite.
Yeah.
I feel bad for the guys because they dumped a shit ton of money
Oh,
in that
yeah.
thing, and all of a sudden it's just in pieces.
Yeah. Oh, and they don't just break; they fucking grenade.
Yeah,
I-
well,
Yeah.
yeah.
I got to ask on that question. Have any of you guys had a runaway diesel happen before?
I have not.
No.
Thankfully, no.
Am I the only one who's had a run-
You're the only one.
What were
that's
you
ever
doing wrong?
run-
I was working on a boring machine from the 50s.
Well, there you go.
And it had a 2-stroke Detroit supercharged diesel motor. And I fired it up. I'm like, okay. And I had a sweatshirt near me just in case because I'm like, I don't know how it's going to go. And it wouldn't shut down. And I tell you what, they almost ate the entire sweatshirt. And I'm like, I need to find more clothes to stop this thing.
Stuff it in the intake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to
Well,
suffocate
put a
it.
piece of cardboard over the intake or
Something.
pinch the fuel line off or something.
Yeah. No, when they go, they go. And I was glad to catch it before it was going to go way too far where it was,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Was it savable?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I saved it. I shut off and it started creeping, and I was able to stop it from really going out. It
Yeah.
just at that starting point.
But your sweatshirt didn't go too far into the engine to
No,
destroy anything?
I got it where it's like stuff, and it started to suck it in where it's concaving the other way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if this doesn't stop, my shirt's coming off next. You know?
Funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Takes his shirt off and just put his belly over the intake.
Oh, there you go.
That's not my belly. Let go, damn it.
So builds
yeah.
oh man, I mean I think I saw one where it was one of those tractor pull competitions or something like that, and the engine literally threw out came off of the transmission and just went forward out of the vehicle. There's a massive explosion.
It's got to go.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what does it take to build one of those? I know some of those are
Yeah, where are they
aluminum blocks, milled aluminum blocks.
Really?
Really? That's
For a
surprising.
diesel?
Yeah, the
seen
one
that.
the one that was 2,500 horsepower that was sitting on the dyno
Yeah.
that
Okay.
exploded.
That was aluminum.
That was aluminum block. There were no water jackets.
Really?
There was no cooling on it.
Oh.
I think there was a fan. That was it. But they built that,
Did that create a
specifically
problem?
to do that.
So cylinders weren't sleeved or anything?
It may,
they
may
have
have
to
been
have been.
sleeved. It was Well, would have had to have been
I would
sleeve.
thought, yeah.
But there was no water porting or anything like that on it.
Interesting.
So, I mean, somebody has to make the wild parts for these things, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're not just building them to run on a dyno. Some of these guys, like you said, they're tractor pulls. They're
Yeah, I
they're
wonder-
actually in a tractor doing
Yeah.
tractor.
I wonder where the internals are coming from for those wild 3,000 horsepower builds. You know,
Yeah, I wonder if they're
your stock internals are not that good.
no.
And I know that doubling the torque of what we're running is overstated. Somebody will call me out on that, and that's fine. But you know, they can handle a lot more than what we're putting to them.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, even your cranks and your rods and stuff like that are going to fail. You start putting that much torque to all that torque and horsepower.
Yeah.
Crazy. So, you know, we were talking about the fuel pressures and stuff on these motors, the new ones and that kind of stuff. What, and maybe you don't know, but maybe you have a little experience with the smaller ones like the 4BT or even an Eco Diesel.
Yeah.
Or not an Eco Diesel, but the TDI. You know,
Yeah.
what kind of pressures are they running?
Yeah, I can't speak to it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure they're up there. Maybe not quite to that level, but it's probably at least 10,000. I mean, I just think that that's part of the diesel experience is the
Yeah.
high pressure. But yeah, I can't speak to those particularly.
Did you look it up?
What do you got?
TDI, Google says TDI engines fuel pressure typically ranges between 250 and 1800 bar, approximately 3,600, 26 to 26,000 psi.
26,000.
That's a huge range. It's somewhere in there.
And I'm talking about like your old diesel Rabbit, you know,
Yeah.
something from the 80s.
Yeah.
Some old diesel motor, or even like I think Datsun had a mini diesel pickup for a little while.
Okay.
I can't imagine those. Yeah, they were probably running maybe, what did you say, around 3,000 psi or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that their technology had caught up to the diesel stuff. They didn't even have turbos on them back then.
No.
They were gutless as all hell.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, they had a decent amount of torque, but it took forever to get there.
Well, and maybe that's just it too. Is like when you get the turbo, you need more pressure to compensate on
could
both
be.
sides. So, that brings up a good point though. The Mercedes-Benz diesels, I've always kind of really wanted one of those old little square body cars with the turbo diesel in them.
Well, those were like the 250s or something like that. The diesel
The 400D.
400D. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think there was a 300D.
Yeah, I think they had a
Probably.
couple of numbers of them.
Yeah.
Apparently, the new engines are supposed to be good because they've got like those vans that have those diesels in the Mercedes.
Oh, they do. Yeah, but isn't that a Cummins?
No, it's a Blue Tech. It's a
The Sprinter vans.
Yeah.
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 Well, yeah, Chrysler and Mercedes did the Sprinter back in the day.
Right.
But that was a version of the EcoDiesel, a very early version of
yeah.
it.
I think there was a God, not a Super Duty, heavy duty Dodge that actually had the Blue Tech motor too. The pickups.
Yeah,
I
I
remember
think you're
seeing
right.
those Blue Tech
Yeah.
badges quite a bit, but I don't remember what that was on. I think you're right, Sprinter vans or something. But
Yeah, Sprinter vans. I know there was a few of the pickup trucks. I think they did a short run on them and went back to Cummins for some reason
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're better.
yeah,
You know a unique diesel engine which I'd like to see put into a project of some kind was Volkswagen's TDI, but specifically, they made a twin turbo V10 diesel for the
Really?
Touareg.
Oh,
that Touareg that has the 36 inches of ground clearance that
Mm-hmm.
he tried to convince us of.
I'm telling you,
That he
it's a
tried to
good off-road
convince me to take the
Yeah.
Alaska.
Yeah.
truck. It's a good off-road vehicle.
I gotta
His
have
36
somebody to work
inches,
on
the
it.
reality was it was 9.
No, it was more than that.
It was 9.
It was not.
It was.
Did you watch the video?
Yes,
Okay, see?
it was not 36.
Not even close.
This
isn't
is
that
36
also the
inches.
same VW engine that's notoriously one of the most difficult engines to work on?
Yes. When I was at the dealership, I remember there one being there, sitting there for months, and it was just crazy. A, how big it was.
Yeah.
But B, just like, it looked like because they had the whole front end of the Touareg off, it just looked like a front of a freight train, just all the complexity of hoses and everything going.
Did they have the front end off to work on it?
Yeah, and I'm not talking like
Jesus
I'm not talking
Yeah.
just the
He
front
wanted
end.
me to take one of those to Alaska.
Yeah, V10.
No. I didn't say the TDI one. I said take like the V8. Mm-hmm. But
Still.
I think
Yeah.
that's another cab off, right?
yeah, probably. Yeah, it was.
What
Yeah.
a giant motor that must have been, too. Like,
Yeah.
Their V8s were, I think, only 3 liters.
well, I'm talking about the 10, but.
Oh, the 10, yeah.
well,
Because
and
it's
that's-
a diesel and it's got to
that's
have that
even more-
displacement too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and the heavy duty block and all that stuff, which is even more ridiculous. A V8 that's a 3 liter. Like, why? Why so many cylinders? You could do the same thing with a 4.
What's interesting is their V10 wasn't like the most reliable engine.
Yeah, go figure.
But it, you're like the same generation is when Audi had taken a diesel V10, took it to Le Mans and
I know they did. Yeah, that was awesome.
It might have been the
remember
same
that.
motor.
I don't know. I don't,
Probably a version of
Yeah,
it.
it's, maybe not the same motor, but the same block.
yeah.
I would guess.
Yeah.
And actually, that brings up a good segue into the diesel car builds, right? Mm-hmm. So I was kind of interested in some of the cars that you could build. You know, the 400D or the 300D Mercedes, early 80s, mid 80s diesels. I've seen some of those that people have built, and those motors last forever.
Yeah.
Right?
Totally.
And some of these guys are doing like biodiesels, right?
Yeah.
So they're adding
The conversion kits.
they're adding the conversion kits, they're doing the heater jackets and stuff like that to keep
Yeah.
the viscosity of the oil up. And they're running these things almost for free and forever.
For free.
Well, I mean, they're running not anymore because everybody that
Yeah, there's
Has
they've
oil
got
sells it,
something that they're doing with that. Yeah, waste oil at this point.
So would you run the coupe or the wagon?
definitely a wagon.
Oh,
The wagon's
yeah.
kind of cool
I mean,
looking, actually.
yeah, I've always been kind of a sucker for a good wagon, but I always had the coupe in mind.
Okay.
Does the wagon have windows?
All the way around.
That's too bad.
Shaggin' wagon. I know where you're going.
We'll just tint it.
no doubt.
It'll be fine.
Yeah.
I mean, project car. They're not expensive.
No, that's
Yeah.
the thing. They're accessible, and yeah,
I knew there was a 240, a 240D.
That's the
Okay.
one I was thinking of.
Yeah, and they do
Not
have
the
the 300.
Oh, there is
also.
a 300.
Yes, there is a 300 and like a 330.
Is the 240, is that the one that had the kind of a rounded headlight and
Yep.
the
It does
little
have
bit
a
of
round
shape on the
headlight.
front?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's the one I really
It's a good looking
like.
car.
okay, yeah.
$1,800.
Yeah. See, I mean, I actually, before I got the Journey as my commuter car, I went and looked at one. They just wanted like $500 for it, but the interior was disgusting. I was really looking for something mechanical to fix, not a full interior rebuild,
Called
So,
an interior swap.
yeah.
So, I mean,
Wow, this one, honestly, Brad. I mean, we were going to do project cars today, but I'm going to highlight this one right now.
yeah.
The 1977 240D, $1,800. It's got just a little bit of surface, a little bit of rust right at the front and back wheel wells. Nothing major.
Is that the black one?
No, it's like a mint green.
Okay. I was gonna say I think I sent you one.
Really
today.
good looking car. What is it? Automatic transmission. It's got 360 something thousand miles. Transmission's on the weak side, but the engine runs great. Running, driving, project, ready to go.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
Your dad's trying to
Yeah.
endorse a project.
Yeah.
I love a good project.
The transmissions though brings up an interesting part about those vehicles that I've learned is they were completely like vacuum actuated, and
Oh, wow.
so
Wow.
those systems had like really complex vacuum lines running
Can you
all
just-
over the place.
So that's
Replace those
probably
with-
why it's weak. It's got some vacuum leaks. You fix that, and you're good. to go.
Probably.
Couldn't you just swap those out with some solenoids, actuators?
I have no idea.
I bet you could.
Or just completely replace it with a
Yeah,
manual
just- I would-
transmission.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Probably replace it. I don't think you can just simply swap it with solenoids.
Yeah.
Brad, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Do you know anything about Ford diesels
I do not.
at all?
No. I mean,
Other than your
the thing
fuel
of-
pump.
The only thing about diesels is just that they are pretty transferable between all diesels,
The main
but-
reason I ask is because I didn't know if you knew anything about the 6.4 liter that Ford had.
Oh.
Notorious terrible engine.
I love that
No.
engine.
Because your dad had one for a while. I was gonna be like, how did you convince him to buy that?
See, I don't think the 6.4 was as bad as the
no-
6.0.
Yeah,
The 6.0 was hot trash when it first came.
I heard the opposite. The 6.0 was bad, but the 6.4 was the worst.
That's
And I had nothing but good luck with that.
Yeah.
Yours was Canadian.
It was Canadian.
Big difference.
that is not what I heard out of them. The
So what
6.0
common
That's
problems
just the
do you
thing
find?
about vehicles and especially diesels
Yeah.
is the rumor mill is hot and heavy.
Yeah,
You
all
know?
the time.
The 6.0 had the head bolt problem.
Correct.
Yeah.
They had the
EGR.
EGR. They had the oil line or oil hole for the turbo was too small, and they fixed all of that before they went to the 6.4.
So the 6.4, I was told what made that weak was it was a weak block. That was one thing on that one.
I heard head bolts on that one too.
Was it head bolts too?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I never had any. Maybe those issues were taken care of before I got it because it was deleted also.
Yeah.
What was yours the first year of the 6.4? Or was
It was not. No, it was a 2010.
They may have fixed it before.
Probably.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's possible.
Because I think the first year maybe it had issues, but the second year or third year, I think it was fine.
And I think the best thing about I loved my 6.4. Loved that truck. It sounded so good. It had such a good turbo spool on that truck. You could really hear it, whereas the new ones, you can't hear it at all.
Yeah, the 6-liter we have up in Alaska does that too. Really
Yeah.
well.
I don't know. I'm kind of used to a gas car, so I kind of like it when it's like quiet like that. What?
Quiet like that.
Yeah.
We were giving you a moment of silence.
Oh, thank you.
We just got canceled.
Oh, hey. If I'm having a turbo like truck noise or whatever, I want it on more of a classic truck. If it's something I'm
diesel.
driving that's a daily,
Yeah,
I don't know. I kind of want to have the peace of mind and just turn up the radio more.
I want the sumbitch to whistle.
Yeah,
You're not supposed to daily your diesel truck anyway.
Oh,
yeah.
well,
I
Liger's
see.
running
I
now,
do.
so that's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah, back to the
Yep.
project cars. So, besides Mercedes,
Yeah,
what other one would you want to do?
yeah.
There's examples up there.
A cheater board.
Yeah.
Jettas, Golf TDIs. I don't know. To me, not really.
So,
Brad's a different person, so he can answer that.
like,
but-
for me, I think the Golf TDI would be a good one because there's a lot of motor stuff you can do to it. And
I think you're right for motor wise, but the rest of the car is going to fall apart.
I love the look of the Mark ones.
Yeah.
I do too.
They're so awesome, but everybody thinks that, so they're pretty highly sought after and impossible to find.
You say that, and I found 2 of them that I sent to Rob today for our Facebook Marketplace thing for like $1,800. And then there's a guy who has
I got
5 of them for
trucks
sale.
from you. I don't know. I didn't see.
Oh, did I not send those ones?
No.
Okay. Anyways, that's right. I was focused
Okay,
on trucks.
well maybe I'm
They're-
just looking
they're
in
out
the wrong
there.
places. Yeah,
They're
yeah.
out there now, and they're
Oh, you weren't on Marketplace, so now
No,
a whole
I just
new,
I
know.
just got on.
a whole new world has just opened up, and you'll
Yeah.
spend hours looking at cars on.
Also, my bike sold like that.
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it would. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's good.
So, no, yeah, the Golf TDI would be a good one. But even just taking the TDI motor and then putting in something different would be cool too. I mean, the Ford Ranger build, that's
That's a neat.
yeah, that's a neat project idea.
You had a Ranger too. You-
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was before I really got in deeper on working cars
Yeah.
and the clutch went out and I just wasn't I didn't have the time or space to do it.
yeah.
And-
Now you look at it and you're like, oh my god, I could have fixed that so easy.
oh, totally.
I wish I would have kept my Ford Ranger.
I've had
But
several.
I
like
think
that.
for anyone looking to get into wrenching, that is a great vehicle.
Yeah.
They're
super
so
easy to
accessible. They're, space in the engine bay, like we were talking about earlier. Yeah, they're just like super simple systems that really transfer over to other vehicles. And yeah.
You guys bashing on me for the Ford Explorer, and now you're saying all about the Ranger.
Ranger's a way better vehicle than the
It's
Explorer.
the same platform, same engine.
The Explorer looks like a soccer mom car, though.
You take that back.
No, I will not.
No.
'Cause that's exactly what it is.
I'll tell you, though, it makes a hell of an autocross car.
No, it doesn't. The Ranger.
Are we talking about the two-door or the?
The Ranger, on the other hand, makes a great autocross truck. Ask
Yeah.
Max.
Has he taken it out yet?
Yeah, he took it out last year.
Nice.
He actually, okay, one of our listeners took
Yeah.
took the challenge from us and built an autocross truck out of a Ranger.
We
Cool.
have
Yeah.
We had him on like episode 7 or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
He immediately went out and bought this truck and started converting it. Sent me a bunch of pictures and that kind of stuff. Anyway, he brought it out at the last event, or maybe it was the last 2 events, something like that, and autocrossed it. I mean, it's just got the little 2.3 in it, so it's not super quick or anything like that,
Yeah.
but it's a manual, and he had a blast. And then after season, I noticed that he posted some pictures. He got it wrapped. It's got a nice wrap on it and stuff. And
Yeah.
like he put, I don't know, it was less than $3,000 into this whole build. It was really good.
That's
So
cool.
anyway, he's going to come out and autocross it again this year.
Nice.
You know, it's
Keep
hilarious.
working on it.
They made a 2-stroke version of that 2.3 liter.
They did?
Yes.
Ford did? Who made it?
I don't know who made it.
I've
But
seen the international swaps
I would
two-stroke
love
in there,
that.
but I've never
It's
seen the.
bad.
I love a
ass.
2-stroke.
You heard about that, Brown?
No.
No.
International 2-stroke?
No,
It's a
the Ranger with the
screamer.
two-stroke. I mean, other than I've only heard the international swap. I didn't know it came with
International.
No, I haven't
three with that was a two-stroke.
But
I wonder
you
if
don't know who
anybody's
made it?
done
I
a.
don't remember who made it, but yeah, they built it for
mid-engine
that
swap
specifically
on that one.
for-
I bet
I don't
you.
know about the Ranger, but I love that concept.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen pickups with the mid-engine swap in them, and
Yeah.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
and-
I feel like the Ranger would be a good
Yeah,
candidate for that.
get a long bed.
They do have a long bed, yeah.
Yeah.
And even with that, because I was eyeballing it up, because I've kind of wanted to do that mid-engine swap with like an old Datsun.
Oh yeah.
That's a cool little platform, right?
Yeah.
With the mid-engine, I would even do it with like a short block 350, just your standard iron block.
Yeah.
But the transmission to motor ratio is really difficult. You're pushing it into the cab, depending on
Nah.
what transaxle you get.
You get
Yeah,
a transaxle.
well,
That's
I know you have to get a transaxle, but even with that, it's possibly too long. You might have to get a Porsche rear end, which then brings it all the way back because the transaxle sits behind the axle
I
instead.
wonder if
You
you
know-
can get a
you
transfer
know what you
case
do?
and just do it backwards.
Nah.
Maybe
Yeah, do it backwards. Run the
the other problem is
drive line forward, and then
Right.
have it.
Like
that
a
you're
boat.
bringing your motor up, and your center of gravity is going to be pretty high at that point.
No, you guys are thinking this all wrong.
Okay.
Okay, you got to think outside the wheel and inside the hamster box wheel. Okay, you got to get one of those front wheel drive LS motors, and then you put that and reverse it.
A front wheel drive
So-
LS
Yeah.
motor.
Interesting.
It's
Drowning
not the
him
motor.
out.
Yeah.
Because instead of having it
curious if this
lengthwise,
hamster
it's
wheel, though, I wanna-
sideways, and they'll fit back there.
Bring it. It's not the motor. It's
Yeah.
whatever it's bolted to. So what are you talking about?
So was it the Cadillacs in like the mid 2000s?
Okay.
So they had then, and I think it was also in the Chevy SS. Anyways, engines mounted instead longitudinally,
Okay.
Yep.
so horizontally, so longitudinally, and then the side instead of the transmission being in line with the car, it's on the side of it.
Okay.
So your length is the width of the engine, and now your width of the ending.
So
is-
you use that transmission basically.
yes,
And
But then-
I would assume that would.
that'd be your rear end.
I would assume that that's going to bolt to any motor that you. It's not specific to the motor.
Well, it's an LS, so
Well, that's what I'm saying is they
Yeah.
didn't make a specific block for that.
yeah.
No.
Okay. So you find that transmission. Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see that working.
Then you put
think
that
the
in the
old
back of your truck because
Impalas
then that
like
way
that too.
your engine, instead of if it
Yeah,
has
it's
to be a
mounted
longer
sideways.
length, it's how wide your truck is
Yeah, it's
because that
mounted
way it's not
sideways.
going into your cab.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
That'd be the way to do it.
All right.
Except your weight would probably be all right over the axle.
That's fine.
Not necessarily. Because I think it would.
Be
Well,
forward of the axle.
yeah.
Yeah, and that'd be fine because that make it
Are
more
you
mid-engine.
sure about that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I would not be.
I think most of your weight would be right above it, because your
So if that's the case, let's
Well,
say-
I'm not-
transaxle with drive shafts, right? Or not drive shafts, with
With output shafts.
output shafts.
Yeah.
Right. So your output shafts are probably going to be almost right in the middle of.
Yeah, but your motor's going to be one side or the other, and it would depend on. I don't know how it was laid out in, say, the Cadillac, right? Like where the motor was right over the top of it, or if it was forward or behind it. Mm-hmm. I'm not really sure.
I'm not sure either.
Yeah.
So just for our listeners' sake, this is what goes on my mind constantly. Just
So,
things like this.
I know, and we have to try and decipher it. It's hard. It's hard sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know how the weight distribution would go because you're moving the motor completely out of the front into the back. You'd have to move your fuel cell into the
Front.
Otherwise,
And it's still not enough.
right.
Yeah, I know.
Add some sandbags.
Yeah, oh yeah.
You'd really want the motor mid-mounted. You'd want it between
Yeah.
your axles for sure.
Yeah, if that doesn't work, you add more arrow.
Always more arrow.
Big
Absolutely.
wang over the front.
Yeah.
All right, well, we totally got sideways.
Or we could put one of those TDI motors in one of those K trucks that are so popular these days.
There you go. Oh, that'd be so sweet to put one of those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little 3-wheeler.
I don't really. I wouldn't. Three-wheelers are scary.
Yeah.
Little tuck,
I don't
tuck,
know what you'd use it for other than just driving around.
Yeah.
picking up chicks.
Fun of
Yeah, 'cause
doing it.
Yeah, you get the chickens in the back.
Doing it because you can.
Because you can.
Yeah.
I like that because you can, for sure. No, I've always looked at that, and I think a Ranger would be a good platform for it too. But I just think the old Datsuns, I like the lines of the body and that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
they're getting more expensive though, those things, because they're harder to come by.
Oh,
I
definitely.
like the
Yeah,
old
trucks.
pre-84 or 84 and older Toyota pickups
Yes.
too.
Yeah. Same
Yeah.
body style as the Datsun. Yeah. Which also would be cool.
Yeah. 4-wheel drive would be expensive, but you might be able to pick up a 2-wheel drive for.
I would just want a two-wheel drive.
Yep.
The extended cabs were really hard to find,
Yeah.
so that would be harder. But if you just get a standard cab with a long bed, those things were everywhere
Yeah.
back in the day. Now I don't know, not so much maybe.
Probably
I've seen this. I've seen some on Marketplace. I know they exist
Still out in field somewhere.
for sure. Yeah, falling apart and rusty.
You know what diesel swap I eventually want to do?
I don't.
Okay.
We'd
Well, moving
to
on.
hear, though.
You want to put? Yeah. Nope. Next.
Well, we're here now.
I really want.
You want to put a diesel in a Ferrari?
Don't you?
I do. I do. Yes.
Yeah, he wants to put
I
that
do.
VW V10 in the Ferrari.
In the F40.
I really want to do. It's a common swap, and I want to just at least drive one and see how it is. Do a common swap on an Excursion.
I know a guy.
Yeah, I think that would be a good.
Because Excursion was good, but the 6.0 was always touchy, and having the V10, there's suck fuel and they're heavy. But swapping over to a 5.9 Cummins and 2-valve, 24-valve don't matter. I think it'd make a great truck.
Well,
I know a guy that did it,
Yeah,
and he sold his for I think $30,000 recently.
I can believe that.
It was a good rig. He's got a Super Duty of some sort
Yeah,
that he did one in also.
Yeah.
And he still has that one.
here's a question to ask then on that topic. Why do you guys think that bigger, newer SUVs don't have diesels? You don't see that in the Suburban anymore. You don't see that in the Expedition.
I don't know. I don't think it's very smart that they didn't do it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, honestly, I probably would have looked into it.
I think it's economy. I think
Yeah.
your gas motors are more efficient, fuel economy wise. Especially like I'm thinking of, say, a Tahoe, right? They've got that cylinder shutdown. I don't remember what their term for it is, right?
Yeah,
Where you're cruising down the highway, instead of running all 8, you're running on
the other
4.
cylinder deactivation.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's where it is. Your diesel on a good day going down the highway is 20 miles a gallon.
Yeah.
What? Okay.
I
I got a question along with that then. What do you think the 1500s get for mileage?
The diesel?
Nope, just the gas.
like 20. Wait, like which ones?
V8 or a V6?
Yeah, or
V8.
4-cylinder.
Oh, they have a 4-cylinder.
Well, it
too?
depends on where you're going. Like if we're
You're
a
not
Ford,
going to get a 1500 with a 4-cylinder.
well, a
Oh, I
Ford.
think you can.
Yeah, you can.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
Like, do their-
stupid.
The Chevy has them now too.
But they also do the 2.7. I
twin
think.
turbo. The Chevy's got a twin turbo, like a 2.7 in a half-ton truck.
Well,
I guess they're having all kinds
okay,
of problems.
It depends
So-
on the year too,
Yeah.
because I know that the older like don't get as good gas mileage as more modern.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right. So I had a 2020 Toyota Tundra with the 5.7 V8. And
5.7's a pretty fair-sized motor, though.
it's pretty fair sized.
Yeah.
It was much, much lighter than the truck I'm driving now.
Yeah.
This truck gets better fuel mileage.
Yeah.
Well, diesel is also a pretty standard. I don't want to say standard, but it gets the same fuel economy pretty much no matter what you're doing. Like it varies by about 3. That's what I've noticed in mine, like city to highway.
Right.
I've done a lot of half-ton truck driving as well, and it just depends on what you're doing with it.
Yep.
And what motor. Like the one, I had a Dodge for work for quite a while, and it got around 24, 25, but it was the V6. But that's a different deal, too. He's talking about the big SUVs.
Yeah.
And I think those are around the 25
I-
to 28 mark for fuel economy.
I
don't-
wouldn't have put him that high.
I think they're so the Suburban I think averages about 18 to 24,
Okay.
and I think the Expedition's about the same because it runs a 3.5 twin turbo V6.
V6.
Yeah, it runs the V6.
So if you could get a small displacement inline 6 diesel that was single turboed, I think you could probably get a better mileage out of it.
here's
Okay, on that, since he's bringing up and the Chevy, and we brought up the Chevy with the 2.7 and a half-ton truck, which is fucking stupid if you ask me.
Yep.
Are we pushing small motors too hard?
yes,
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, I think so.
but I wanted to say, and that leads into that.
Okay.
I think realistically with these newer trucks is I don't think the chassis can take the power a diesel will put in there. You put in 500 horses, 1,000 pounds of torque,
But
from a 6.7 in an
They
Expedition.
have a.
They don't have frames.
Hold
anymore.
on. Dodge has a 1500 that they put one into. So if you put a smaller displacement diesel in, why couldn't you?
I think he's right, though. You have to
It's also weight though.
compensate for the torque. It all has to be rigid enough to deal with it.
Yeah. But I mean, the Dodge figured it out with the 1500.
But they never put in the Durango. Why? And that's a full size, 9-person 3-row SUV.
That's true.
I don't know.
But that's the thing is people that say if they do have that and these become project cars and say like let's say 10 years, 8 years, and the guy's like, I've always wanted an Expedition, hated that V6. I'm gonna throw a 24 valve into it. Hell, let's make it forward a 6.0 into it. I mean, my old man made 1,000 pounds of torque off that and 1,000 horsepower off that. Are those chassis going to be able to do it? Are people going to buy them and just literally rip these trucks in half?
It also depends on how they drive it.
The two.
So
Have you heard anything about
there's
that,
going to
Brad?
be those issues.
There's a lot more vehicles overseas that are diesel that they don't send here.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's a popularity thing for
Good segue.
us.
I know where you're going with that.
Okay.
Where you going?
Didn't you? Wasn't that one of your questions? Overseas stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it is up there.
We don't get.
It is
Oh,
up there.
you know what? That actually is a good segue because you were talking about that power ram, and that did not do well in American markets. They kept making it in Mexico.
Oh,
And
really?
they used parts from other vehicles. Like the hatch was from a town and country, and like the body was like partially a Durango, and there's so many vehicles that we make other places that it's like, well, I want that.
Yeah.
I've seen versions of the Ford Ranger in other countries, like because there was a number of years, don't remember exactly how many, that we didn't get it here. They stopped making it.
It was like 2012 to 2018 or 19, I think.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you go to another country and they have some actually pretty cool, well outfitted Ford Rangers. I'm like, why aren't we getting that? That's really cool, like some nice 4-wheel drive trucks and
Yeah.
that kind of sucks.
I think
They just stopped
the
selling
Toyota Hilux is a popular
Yeah.
one to talk
Yeah.
about too.
Yeah.
Toyota has another one that's supposed to be on the super cheap that they recently came out with.
Yeah.
that they're not going to send here because they don't think that the $10,000-$12,000 truck market is here in the U.S.
Well,
Well, not anymore.
that
after,
would be awesome if we could get a $12,000 truck, but for that same vehicle, they would charge $25,000.
Well, look what the Maverick was. That started at $18,000 MSRP, and now MSRP you can't get one less than like 25.
Yeah.
You know,
It tops out at 36, 39.
something like that. But regardless, that was supposed to be the entry level cheap.
Understood. Yeah, yeah.
I know some of it has to do with regulations too, though.
Yes.
Like the safety
True.
features of like the Hilux and stuff are not something that would make it easily just bring it over here. Like
Yeah.
there's a lot that it would have to be outfitted with still
Yep.
to match our federal regulations and stuff.
probably-
And emissions is the big
Emissions.
Well,
one.
you
Yeah, I
can
was
buy
just
the
gonna say that.
25-year-old ones now and bring them over.
Yeah, there you go. Not a problem.
Yeah.
But then you're still importing a vehicle, and
Yeah.
the idea is having it available to us on the market, right?
I can't imagine importing a vehicle, especially like say if you don't have an inspection or know anyone in the country who looks at it beforehand and you buy it. You're dealing with someone else's used vehicle, possibly project from overseas from 25 years ago.
Sounds great.
You know, I mean, you might as well buy a Lamborghini kit car.
You know, you're right.
Sure, just justify that purchase.
Well done. Just, yeah,
Damn, let's shit on the passenger seat.
that's funny. I'd do it. No, actually,
Take on the Lambo? Thank you.
No, he'd buy the Hilux.
yeah. I was thinking of that. What's that Volkswagen that they sell in Brazil? Forgot about that one.
Not the Scirocco.
No, similar to it though.
Yeah.
Oh, the one that Ian brought up a
Yeah.
while back.
Yeah, it's like a
God, I wish I
is
could
it a number or something, wasn't it? It's like a S2000 almost. Or I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway,
Anyway, there's a lot of other vehicles like that, right? I know Nissan has a couple. Isuzu had some diesel rigs.
Right.
God, now that I think about it, I think I did see it like a Ford Ranger diesel.
Yeah. And they could probably get them in Europe or
yeah.
Australia.
Yeah,
Yeah, for some reason, European markets love the like diesel commuter cars, and there's so many that are available over there that they're not available here.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think they were doing that. And they're also small displacement, right?
Yeah,
So they were doing it for fuel efficiency,
yeah,
right? And,
Well, yeah, because you can get 50 miles to the gallon out of a
Right.
diesel.
Yep.
and that's why I was kind of going that direction with
That's-
the bigger things. Like, it doesn't have to be a big heavy motor. It could be a slightly smaller,
Yep.
turboed motor.
I got a
Yeah.
question.
Do it.
Do they make any
don't
marine
have to raise
diesels?
your hand.
And do they put any
Yes.
of those in vehicles?
Why would they put a marine motor into?
I don't know. I'm figuring maybe you can get it cheaper. I don't know.
No, marine motors are not cheap.
No?
No. But Cummins makes a marine motor,
Okay.
and they're another industrial, man. They put those into the power band and run them for weeks.
Yeah.
Fishing boats have big diesel motors.
Mm-hmm.
The cruise boats, the ferries, all those are big marine diesels.
Yeah. But you wouldn't take one and just swap it into a truck? Or, like there's
what
no
kind-
benefit.
What kind of truck?
I don't know. I'm just saying. Like I know diesel swap exists, but I'm asking, have you guys heard of a marine diesel swap? Either
I have never
One
heard
go-
of anybody going from a marine application into a vehicle.
well, you've heard the other way though, at least.
Yeah.
I
I've heard the
have
other
seen
way.
and heard the other way, yes.
Okay.
But like marine motors are generally big and heavy.
Yeah.
And I mean, not that a semi motor isn't big and heavy, but I'm not really sure why you would go that way. I would venture to guess that there's probably not a whole bunch of difference. But I don't know that.
Okay.
Did you guys see that Cummins just announced venture into gas motors?
Really?
Yes,
Yes,
I did.
the 6.7 octane.
That I figured is going to be
I saw
interesting.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's based off of the 6.7 diesel in the trucks,
Yep.
but to run gas. it'd be really interesting to see if somebody picks it up to put into a vehicle.
Do you have high hopes for that engine?
I think it'll happen.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, yeah, if they're making it as robust as their diesel engines, that it could be a really cool engine.
You want to know what I bet's going to happen?
What's that?
I bet you more than not the people are going to buy it are people who had Cummins engines before because I think it's the greatest thing. And I bet you the most common failure on that engine is going to be spark plugs because they're going to forget to change them.
It's possible.
You know?
No way, those people are all about their maintenance.
Like, it's gone, 200,000 miles. Oh, right, gas. I forgot. I do that. That's the thing.
So I did a quick search on the Ford Ranger diesel, and it's available in Australia and Europe. You
Yeah.
can get it in a 2-liter, 4-cylinder Eco Blue and a 3-liter V6 variant. You can get single turbo or twin turbo.
Ooh.
The twin turbo Eco Blue engine, 2-liter, 210 horsepower. Pretty decent for a little.
That's not bad about what a Volkswagen is.
Is it that our Volkswagen that much?
210.
210?
Yeah, with TDIs. For the,
The-
most modern TDI,
Yeah.
2012.
Let's see. The V6 turbo diesel engine comes in the XLT. Oh, I thought it was going to give me horsepower, and it left me hanging. Didn't do it. Anyway, they are available.
So Jeremy would know this one. And here's one thing I got to know. Baja Racers. Those normally run gas engines, right? Why the hell aren't they running diesel?
There are
Because
diesel.
they're heavy.
There are diesel in some of them. They do have a class, but they are different.
Yeah.
Do they perform just as well or worse?
No, they're not as fast.
I don't think the new ones may be getting better. The new diesels.
I
know
mean,
there's a
yeah,
lot
the
of things you can
technology's
do.
better, but you think about how fast a diesel motor, even a turbo one, doesn't spool nearly as quickly as
Yeah.
a gas engine does.
But when you're already
The older
full out,
technology. The older
Right.
technology
Top
didn't.
speed.
yeah.
But the newer stuff in the Audis and the VWs and
Yeah.
stuff, they're spooling faster and they're getting them up to higher RPMs.
Are they?
More in the
5,000 to 6,000 range rather than
yes,
the 3,000 range.
more into the gas range than
Yeah.
the diesel range.
Yeah.
Well, if it's all about spool up, how come diesel hasn't adopted a hybrid turbo technology then? Where there's the electric motors on the turbochargers to pre-spool them up.
Maybe they have, and we don't know it.
Have you heard anything about that, guys?
I have no idea.
Okay. Because that would, especially on the diesel, heavily help that out if it's already spooled up
Or
ready to go.
supercharged rather than turboed.
Well, there's an
Yeah.
interesting thought. Has that happened yet?
So the reason
Yes, they have some of the diesel trucks have a supercharger built into the motor.
yeah, like the
actually-
International is working on.
Yeah, it's actually part of the motor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
you'd want a turbo because your diesel exhaust, correct me if I'm wrong, is going to be way hotter coming out. Right?
What about,
And that's going to spool your turbo.
have
up.
you've seen some of the, I don't know, I want to say some of the JDM tuner build cars, whatever, they're using electric turbos, so there's no turbo lag.
Yeah.
What about something like that for a diesel?
That's what I just said.
Yeah.
That's the hybrid.
Did you say electric turbo?
yeah, the
I thought
hybrid.
you were
He
saying,
said electric hybrid turbo.
yeah,
oh, I thought you were saying like electric.
drivetrain.
Like,
no.
Yeah.
No, I meant
Sorry.
in terms of like the turbo, and for a
Gotcha.
listener to clarify, the turbo having an electric motor to pre-spool it.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right. Sorry. Yeah, I thought you were talking about drivetrain. Okay.
Yeah, I'm surprised we're not seeing that in more diesels.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, because, yeah, like you said, spooling instantly or already ready to go. Wonder why.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But imagine that like on a light block, like on a European engine, small 2-liter
TDI.
TDI,
Yeah.
and having that pre-spooled,
Maybe
getting the
because-
mileage already out of it at like 50 miles per gallon.
If it was pre-spooled, it'd probably just do burnouts.
That'd be cool.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm liking this idea. So the project car build that Brad's going to do, electric turbos,
go from luxury to rubber burners.
Yeah.
rubber band burners.
It's gonna have to be all-wheel drive.
Yeah.
I mean, that'd be cool. for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll put it into a Subaru WRX.
What do you guys think of coal rolling?
I'm sorry, what?
Coal rolling?
No.
No? Yes? No?
I can't do it.
No? Just what's
There
your
was
thoughts on
a
the act of it?
protest going on outside the Tesla dealership that I work near just the other day, and I watched a guy roll coal as he drove by them, and I thought that was pretty funny.
Well,
so,
Kind of funny.
yeah. But for the most part, it's I don't know. It's showy. You know, it's kind of a
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not a fan.
I'm not either, but I don't know why. There's some people who have an attraction to it, you know.
I know.
Where you just step the gas and just leave nothing but black.
Smoke. Yeah.
You know.
Cool.
I think
we already are frowned upon because we drive, pretty polluting vehicles. Let's make it worse.
I think most of the ones that roll coal are not very well tuned either.
Yeah, because you're just dumping fuel. Mm-hmm. You know? If a cop pulls you up for that, you say, sorry, my catalytic converter blew up. DPF filter.
right. What DPF?
Yeah.
DP who?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Have you run out of steam on that subject?
Yeah, probably.
Probably.
Run steam engines now?
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, in the 1902 steam engine train, okay, XR100 Model Y was 130
The
feet long.
sad thing is he's probably that's real. That's like real stats.
The only steam engine I could think of was one that they still use to go up over the Rockies in Colorado.
Did we really just transition into
Welcome to the enigma of
I don't know. I
Maine.
think steam is pretty interesting and fascinating. I haven't done a lot of research around it, but just the idea that that's how we used to run engines is
I agree. I think that's pretty
very
cool.
fascinating.
I just think it's nuts. We almost had a steam-powered, nuclear-powered car from Ford.
Steam nuclear powered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because it would use a nuclear reactor to power in the back of the car that would use a steam
I
turbine.
mean, if we could actually harness the nuclear safely,
God, this is just like my mind.
it'd be amazing. I know, it is like, this is crazy. I don't know what just happened.
Went
Where's the
from
dinosaurs?
Untitled Car Project to the Grant Show.
Yeah.
No dinosaurs.
the Untitled Grant show.
So
Well, I mean, it makes me think of the hydrogen.
Right,
know,
that's where my brain went to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hydrogen
I wonder if there's really anything there.
Oh, I think there is.
yeah, people are doing RE conversions for that.
Yeah, you can already do it. So,
Sure. But is the infrastructure going to be there? 'Cause
Well,
it's going
that
to be
is
the
the biggest
same
problem.
issue with like the Tesla superchargers and whatnot. And there was a car back in the, I don't
90s.
know. Yeah. That ran hydrogen, but you couldn't get it anywhere.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that's still the situation. Actually, there's a couple of manufacturers that produce hydrogen cars, but you can only get it in certain spots in California.
Yeah.
So, until we can figure that part out,
I feel like if they
won't
could
take
make it
off.
where you can have hydrogen, where you can take water, let's just say 5 gallons, pour it into something, whatever it is, and that is
a reactor.
whatever, and it's separated into hydrogen and oxygen, and you have that within, say, less than 5 minutes,
Sure.
a fuel stop wise.
Okay.
Because that way you can, there's an infrastructure there. It's called a water tank. It does
Yeah.
not take very long for that.
Well, if you
It's
can
a
do
little
an
harder
onboard,
than that.
onboard separator, I don't know if that
Yeah.
technology is small enough yet. You know.
Well, I'm not saying on board. I'm saying like if you have like at a gas station,
Oh, okay.
you know, and have just 100-gallon tank of water.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean? That's all the infrastructure would need. You wouldn't need a huge.
No.
Yeah, I think it's a little more.
It's a little more
complicated
complicated than that.
How so? No, I'm trying to say not with the complicated. If you have,
It's not going to be not complicated.
Yeah, but in his imaginary world, it's not complicated. You take it a bucket of water, and that's all
Yeah,
it
no.
takes.
Yeah.
That's not all it takes.
well, I guess what I'm getting at is
Just split the atoms and
Yeah.
it's good.
what I'm
so
saying is
easy.
once it gets to the point where you can change water into hydrogen form at a fast rate, kind of like the one reason electric cars haven't gone, not because we starting to have infrastructure, is the charge rate. That's the ultimate thing comes down to convenience of time and speed. You know.
Pollution and all those. other
Anyways,
things,
but
whatever.
regardless, that will be the one thing that will help out with hydrogen.
Yeah.
If you can say if you're at home and do that on a quick and accessible way, and if you're on the road,
yeah,
where,
if they can crack that code, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if I can produce hydrogen in my garage and just refill at home.
I think they're
You
going to need
can.
to do it on a a larger scale first,
Yeah.
meaning like I've seen semi trucks
Mm-hmm.
that have a hydrogen generator that powers electric motors.
Yeah.
So that vehicle had a 1,200-mile range for, I don't remember what size the hydrogen cell was, but
Yeah.
pretty good size. 1,200 miles is a fair little jaunt.
Yeah.
I mean, it's 1,300 miles from here to Yuma, Arizona.
Well, especially if you're a truck driver, you only got so many hours you could do in the day.
Yeah.
And I mean, you're probably not going to do more than 1,200 unless you have a dual driver situation with you going.
Right. Well, you probably wouldn't do 1,200 in a day anyway. I mean, that would, technically, I think they can only drive 21 hours in a day.
In a day? No, it's 10 hours you're allowed
10-hour
to
shift,
drive
right?
and be awake
So
for
20.
12. Yeah, if you're dual driving.
Right.
All right. Anyway, we're not going to solve that problem.
Okay.
So, Grant wanted to talk about new technology
Yay.
being used in the restoration market, basically making it easier to restore vehicles. I was super, super busy this week and did not get to do any research on this.
I didn't either.
You didn't do it from the past?
No.
Okay. Why is everyone looking at me?
Because it's your squirrel brain.
I'm
brought it up.
excited for
So
where
we've-
things going.
Okay.
So one of the
Kind of
things
talked about these a little bit before.
Yeah. One of the technologies I've been seeing recently that's been coming up a lot on Facebook, specifically on, I've been seeing it a lot on Fiat forms, has been the 3D scanning technology. Why it's been on Fiat forms is because they're not very common of cars for, like, say, the X19s, the ones I've got, and people are starting to use 3D scanning to get engine bays and parts, and see, so that way the internet has a 3D model and be like, okay, here's the engine bay. Most people nowadays with those cars, when they want to make power, they Honda swap them. And there's a kit to do it that's, someone's developed, a little bit expensive. Now what's been the common thing with those cars specifically is because someone was able to 3D scan a whole engine bay, get exact measurements, and give it to people, they can design however they want of whatever engine they want in the back of there. So instead of being locked to a K20 engine, they now can pay like a Toyota 2-liter or put down, a Ford EcoBoost.
All right. Well, they've got the scan of the engine bay and whatnot, but how does that translate into using whatever engine you want?
Because now I should clarify on that one. If you had a Fiat beforehand and you wanted to, say, put a Ford motor in there, right?
Because that's everybody's first choice is a 4.6.
Let's just yeah. Let's just say, the problem you have in that one is you either would go and measure the engine best you can,
Yeah.
buy the engine, put it in there, and it wouldn't fit, or you'd figure out what you have to cut.
Yeah, you got to do it all. Yeah.
Now, if you have someone that says, okay, I've got a Fiat engine bay, and I want to try a 4.6, or not 4.6, 2.3,
So
you have someone on the internet who could scan that engine, have a 3D model of that, and you can see if it mates up inside that. If it's too big, too not, what do you have to do?
Gotcha. So you need a 3D scan.
So you need
both,
a 3D
both
scan of
ends.
both, yeah.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And then you could see if they would meet up.
Correct.
I mean, beforehand, you would have showed up to buy your 2.3 liter with a tape measure
Yeah.
and
You're going, well, I
a
think
piece
it'll
of paper and a pen. And
Right. Sort
it's
of.
fucking close.
And what's nice is because now that you can have it in a 3D space, you then can say, engine's here, engine base here.
Yeah.
What do I got to build in terms of a support system that will hold it?
Yep.
And now that it's because it's built on the computer, you can say, okay, it needs to be this long. This is the angles it needs to be. You can very precisely make it so now everything goes in at once.
Or at least you're a lot closer when you actually get
Exactly.
those pieces cut out and that kind of stuff instead of the measuring error, go and cut, try to fit it in there. Nope, that's wrong. Let's try again.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think that probably on a smaller scale, if you went in and scanned something,
Yeah.
the inside of an engine bay, say you wanted to build new exhaust for your car, you'd 3D scan it and then you would model your exhaust based on the size.
Exactly. And that's one thing they're seeing, because those 3D scanners now are coming, quote unquote, affordable. You can get them for about
$300.
like $300 to $500
Oh,
for a
that is-
usable one.
I think
good.
Brendan
Yeah.
was talking about getting one for their shop.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so and that makes a huge difference in terms of like or time saver, I should say.
What kind of software do those run? Is it a proprietary thing that comes with the scanner and all that, or do you have to get some other CAD and a degree in order to be able to use it?
I don't think so. I'm fairly positive it's fairly easy to use.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of 3D printer people have been using that.
Okay.
So they'll scan something and then they'll print it off that
I
way.
will
Yeah.
ask a guy tomorrow.
Thank you.
Cool.
I have a
clarification.
guy at work that
I do like that technology and that
Yeah.
idea, and especially just saying 3D printing it, because if you scan your engine bay and you scan XYZ motor, whatever that you want to put together,
Yeah.
can you then scale it down to like your 1/15th scale so that you have the two pieces and you can go
Yeah.
physically?
I have seen.
out?
I've
That'd be really cool.
It was last year. I saw at a auto parts shop in Washington. A guy just built a LS motor, and just
Out of 3D,
plastic, and just
3D printed.
yeah.
parts.
And he's like, "Yeah, I do this about like every month. I'll just bring another engine. And I'll just print it." It just sits on his desk.
Yeah, just like scale and 3D scan all the parts, and
Yeah.
that's actually really neat.
Right.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. So the other big one I saw on the technology side that was very fascinating was augmented reality.
It's the space that Grant lives in.
Yes. So augmented reality is something you would use like Amazon use it for your phone. Like if you have your camera app and say you're looking at like a lamp and you take your phone out and
Right.
go and
And
say
they
put it
say,
on the
"Show it in my room."
it'll show it in your room in a 3D kind of space. So how that's being used in the auto industry, which I saw that I thought was fascinating, is people are using the Oculus Quest 2 and 3s or whatever the newest one is. And so as you wear it, you're looking at, say, a car. And what they're doing now is they're using paint programs and modeling programs. So even though you're looking at your car clear as day with your headset on, you can pre-paint it or pre-design it while it's on there and be a 3D augmented reality.
Interesting.
So you can get a pre-idea of what it's going to look like or how your finished design will be. Or you could be like, okay, you're designing something and you need to have it a certain length or a size or a shape. You can design that in your augmented reality and then literally grab a pen and be tracing over that while you're doing it.
That's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see how all of those things would be very useful in the project car space.
You want to cut a fender and see how that goes? Okay, let's just add some more, volume to it. See how that looks like on your car. And you can walk around it and see, okay, now the fenders are this much out. Does that look great? Yes, no? Okay, let's delete that. Let's make them thinner. Oh, that looks great,
Yeah.
You don't like how you maybe want to cut the hood out a little bit, put some here. Racing stripes, big one. How's that going to look on the car?
Right.
You
Oh,
know?
that's cool.
Yeah.
Wow. He's really put some thought into this. I like it. All right. Advanced welding.
Advanced welding.
I actually got to see, because I've been very curious about the 3D metal and that kind of stuff and how that actually goes together. But I actually got to see one, not in person, it was a video.
Yeah.
But 3D printed, I don't remember what part they were making, but it was essentially a MIG welder.
Yep.
That was just following this pattern.
I saw that today.
Did you see it? Yeah. And, it was maybe, I don't know, 2 or 3/10 of a second of a weld, and then it would pause for about the same, and then it would weld, and then so it was just
It's
doing that pattern.
essentially it's just spot welding.
Yeah,
And it
exactly.
just up,
Yeah. Yep.
going down
The
the
one
line.
I saw was going a line and then it would stop and then it would go more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and they were making 3D printed boat props.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What I'm hoping with the 3D metal printing, because we can all agree that's more expensive right now than traditional 3D
Oh, yeah.
printing. Is with the way I know if this video you and me saw today essentially was a MIG welder and it was on a robotic arm
Yep.
that can articulate. And I think if they can make an arm like that onto a market that's affordable, then anyone with a MIG welder will be able to just put on there and just activates it. pushes it and just starts spot welding onto it.
Right.
I think that'd be a way to make it so you could have 3D metal printing cheap and affordable if that can come.
I'm sure that will happen.
Yeah.
There's got to be a way to adapt it to the welder that you already have instead of having to buy a whole, $5,000 system or something like that.
I will say though, I wonder how much that would cost, not as a buy a product, as in terms of like energy. Because run your welder.
Sure.
I was
It's-
wondering the
it's-
same thing.
Yeah, because a 3D printing at the technology we're at is not a quick process.
Right.
So if you got a very
Metal
complicated
or plastic?
Plastic.
well, plastic is
I mean,
better
it
now.
takes a
fast.
while.
Plastic is faster now.
Yeah,
Yeah, it probably depends on
But-
the
the unit.
technology.
Yeah.
How old of a technology are
Yeah.
you using?
Yeah, so let's compare the Ender V3 to the Ender V2, right?
Okay.
Blah 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 blah.
So
That's what I heard.
It's a brand.
Yeah.
The same size 3D printer.
Mm-hmm.
A buddy of mine was printing
Boats.
masks
Oh, okay.
for his son to make videos. With the V2, it was taking 8 hours to complete one mask.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the V3, it was taking 4.
Yeah. So technology gets better. It gets
Yeah.
faster.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that will continue to happen. But to Grant's point,
With welding,
welding.
it's going to take a lot longer because also you're dealing with heat. You're waiting for it can't. If you try
It's not a constant weld.
exactly.
And you're running a 220 machine.
Exactly. And so I'm wondering how much that will cost in the long term for a consumer.
Well, the plastic ones are like, I think he was running.
But you don't have a transformer in it from a welder.
No,
That's
he was running them. It was like $3 in plastic, and,
Yeah.
and I don't remember how much he said. Maybe $1 in power or
Yeah.
something like that over 8
Yeah.
hours.
And-
Your welder is going to be quite a bit more than that.
Yeah.
Well,
it's
and
probably
realistically,
gonna be
what
$1 a
kind of
minute.
parts are you going to be making from that
Exactly,
anyways?
right.
Because like the strength of those parts is not going to be great.
Suspect.
Yeah.
See, I was
Yeah.
that was
That's
a question I had too. Is like, not just what are you welding? What are you making out of this metal? But how strong is it? What parts can you actually useful
Yeah.
weld?
How
I-
strong was that boat prop?
Yeah,
You know,
and how
I'd be-
balanced was
Right.
it? That was my other thought. Was like that's a part that has to be balanced.
Yeah.
so what I could see those being used for is like say if you got a fender that's a very unique form on an older 50s car, right? And you got a part of it that's rust. Doesn't even be big, couple inches, but it's just out there. But it's enough where it's a complicated shape where if you send it out, you're going to have to be on the English wheel, really mold time, hammer it well. If you have it on a metal 3D printer, you just print off a section like that, and then you could stitch weld it into your side.
I would wonder how thin they can print that because sheet metal versus a weld, there's a serious discrepancy in the
Yeah.
thickness of that. So, your welds are not going to be thin like sheet metal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
not
would
going to be
wonder about
smooth.
Nuh-uh. Yeah.
That was the problem.
I
with
wanna
the boat
see- I
prop,
wanna
is
see
it
more of
wasn't
that.
Yeah.
smooth.
Yeah.
Well, I know they
wanna
can
see
get.
more of that.
I know they can get really accurate with it because, like for example, Koenigsegg, their turbos are all 3D printed, and I believe their original turbos were that kind of style where they were welded together. So I know you can get it fairly accurate.
Yeah,
What we
apparently.
saw was on a traditional MIG style welder,
Right.
But like, there's going to be machines out there that are way more accurate.
Yeah, I want to see that. I want to know how they do that. How are they melting this metal together and forming, a turbo?
Yeah.
How's that work?
Yeah.
And I'm sure right now those machines are uber expensive.
Yeah.
Hence-
Once those get the one thing that people can do right now to make a cost affordable thing for metal is there are companies that say if you have a design that's made of plastic that you 3D scan, print, whatever you want to have done, right? But you want metal. There are companies that you can send those designs to, just email them,
Yeah.
and then they'll send you back a printed metal thing of it.
Yeah.
And that's probably right now the most economical way to get something that you want created out of metal.
Agreed. Yeah. I think that's a pretty cool concept. They've made a business out of it, but they're also being able to spread that cost out a little bit. So you're not taking a giant hit because everybody's paying a little bit extra, but they've got the equipment. So they're offsetting their printing costs and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So we see on the list there was Rust Remedy, Rust stuff.
Remediation?
That stuff.
Remediation.
Did you ever? We talked about that on a couple episodes ago. Did you ever look into any of that, Rob?
As far as like little handheld sandblasters and that kind of stuff.
In terms of like the restore and
the rust, the liquid
Inhibitors.
gels and that kind of stuff. Actually, I've not had time. It's still in my head. Been
Okay.
thinking about it, but I have not had time to.
We should come back to that one.
Okay.
Oh, it'll come back again because
Yeah.
well, Brad's seen the car, so we worked on that
Yeah.
Corvette. There's a lot of rust under there. The frame is
need some
pretty
love.
rusty. It needs some love for sure.
Yeah.
On the C3.
Yeah, on the C3.
Yeah.
It's not beyond saving by any means, but you know,
Is the
there's
frame
a lot
good or
of
is the
scale.
frame dim? Okay, that's good.
It's just it's not bad, but it needs love. It needs maybe some sandblasting, maybe just some scale removal with that product or whatever.
Be really nice if you had one of those lasers.
He does.
I wonder if that works. I'm still curious. Like I've seen quote unquote the videos, but I have no idea.
Not testing on my head. It's already smooth enough.
What?
So, from rust remediation down,
Yeah.
I think if we look at that a little bit closer, that's a whole show.
Okay. Yeah. One of them on there that I really think is pretty cool is the CNC and laser cutting.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty awesome.
I have a friend that does some laser stuff.
Yeah.
He might be interesting to bring in
Yeah.
and talk to. He doesn't do car stuff.
So like the DJ and kind of oomph, oomph, oomph laser show.
Yeah. That kind of laser.
No, Elvin, our friend
Freaking
Elvin,
sharks with lasers on their head.
he's doing like he laser etched our cards for us,
Yeah.
Right.
and
Does
he's
he do laser cutting?
he's working on not cutting, but he's working on being able to laser etch stamps for doing leather work.
Oh,
So
Interesting.
I think that's probably a 6-month plan. But
Interesting.
he's doing some other stuff with lasers.
I like the laser cutting stuff, especially for the car market. I mean, that's pretty cool that they can, well, just like the 3D templates, right? And then just put it in your computer and say, okay, cut it out.
Yeah.
It's fucking awesome.
So he's done a ton of research on that and would have some information for us.
Okay.
So
All right.
The one thing I'm more interested, actually, I want to go back to 3D scanning. I was just thinking about this. Is really interesting. Is people who can start using that on their cars, like say on their front fascia, you know, the front hood, fender, whatever the fuck. Have a 3D version of that in a digital space and start doing aero testing on that.
or
Yeah.
3D scanning the entire inside of your fender well and figuring out what it would take for a 315 to fit in there and not rub.
Ooh, there's a good idea.
It already does. It fits.
No, but
Well, it's
Doesn't
not a
rub.
315. I thought
I
it was
bet it will.
295s.
Anyways, but no, essentially, yeah, is
Yeah, I like
huge
the aero
advantages for the
testing idea.
scanning.
Yeah.
You know, imagine you taking your whole car, scan it, and now you can do aero testing
Have
on
the
the
computer
digital thing,
digitally run air over it and
Yeah.
see where it flows.
and you can then say, okay, well, I've got these, you know, front diffusers. Let's see how that does.
Yeah.
Scan that, or have someone who's done that on their car put that on yours. What's the actual downforce on that? What's the benefit of putting where those little fin things on the side?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking
where
about?
do I
Yeah, I
put
do.
these air ducts so that it cools my brakes most
Yeah, where it
efficient?
pulls more air through.
Exactly.
That kind of stuff.
You
And
know,
the actual downforce.
Yeah.
yeah.
I like it.
Rob's getting really.
I know.
He wants one now.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're like $300, and I don't think the software. I think the
They
software
come with the
comes
software.
with it,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's super.
I need the software
use.
that's going to tell me what the arrow's doing, though.
Yeah, that's a different
Just-
software.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, no, I agree. There's a lot there, and there's a lot more that we need to dig into. So I want to ask Brad another question.
Okay.
And,
Brad, you're supposed to say, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. What 3 cars would you really like to own someday if money is not an issue?
The Durango 392, or the SRT8. I really like that car. A lot of people are not a big fan of the body styles of the Durangos, and I really like them. So, yeah, that's definitely one of them.
Why not the Hellcat version?
I mean, it could be a Hellcat, but I think I don't know. The SRT8 is like enough. Because I don't think I would be like tracking it or anything necessarily. It'd just be like a fun car, you know? So, yeah, that is definitely one. I mean, I really just would like a Cummins. I don't own a Cummins as much as I love them.
Yeah.
So I would probably go like probably Gen 3, like 5.9.
What year was a Gen 3?
That's a good question. Around like 2006, I think, is where the break was. You know,
That's the first year of the Gen 3?
I believe so.
Yeah. My grandpa had one.
Yeah.
It is sitting at my grandma's house with 63,000 miles.
Yeah, it's rubbing in more. With
gosh. Yeah, no kidding.
Would you want just a 2,500, 3,500 with it, or would you want that engine in something else?
No, yeah, I would just want a truck, just like a 2,500 probably. Yeah. I mean, his dad's got a Gen 2 that's got 135,000 on it.
Yeah. He drives it to Montana and back, and that's it.
Yeah. But I mean, as frequent as they drive, I'm surprised it doesn't have more on it. But yeah, so that thing's in mint condition too.
Yeah, he just had it painted.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he was thinking about upgrading for a minute and said, "Nah,
Now I'll just paint it.
Yeah, probably the best choice.
Yeah.
I don't know, something outlandish or.
Money's no object.
I know, but whenever I'm dreaming about cars, I'm like, what's something that's like cool but also attainable? You know, I don't know how often I'm really like going up there with
that
like
F40s
costs.
You know?
Yeah, I mean,
you're gonna have that car that just sits in the garage.
yeah,
That's the problem with that one, right?
Yeah,
You'd
for
feel
sure.
bad driving it.
yeah. I think I'd probably throw that one on the list. The
F40.
Yeah. Why not?
Okay,
That's
so
a
let's
cool
make this more complicated.
Okay.
Is it a 87 F40 with the plexiglass sliding windows, or are you going with a 90, like 190, where it's roll down windows?
I would go with the roll down windows.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
The fucking
I'm
race
gonna
car
agree
look
with
is
that.
pretty fun, though.
It's cool, but I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I'd go with the little later version with the roll down windows.
Same.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
Okay, what car's a hard no?
Ooh.
It's a hard no question.
Yeah.
The car that you just would have to turn down, just like
Yeah.
no,
Here's the keys,
not driving
and this is where you're gonna have to drive. You're like, I can't do it. Not happening.
A Cybertruck.
There you go.
Cybertruck.
Yeah.
Would not be seen in this video.
No. Not a chance.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I agree. Every time I see one, I cringe.
Apparently, the front end's glued onto it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the front bumper.
The side skirt or the side things that go up over the door are
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Have you seen? Do you know who Whistling Diesel is?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so he did a Cybertruck versus the F-150.
Yeah. Yeah. I watched both those videos.
That was epic.
Yeah.
He also did one with the.
I mean, I was really
Hilux.
curious. Like, is it going to hold up to any of this
No.
stuff? No.
It
Yeah.
was a
And that was
pile.
surprising when that. I figured at least something would be okay at, good at.
It was
but,
it was really good at taking buckshot to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was about the only thing I think that it didn't completely fail at.
Mm-hmm.
The towing thing where they hooked them, the both of them up together.
Oh yeah.
That was funny because the F-150 went one way, the Cybertruck went the other way, and the Cybertruck's back frame busted off.
Yeah.
Frame broke off. That
Does
was
it?
after he landed it off of driving off a culvert or something like that and busted the frame.
Does it actually have a frame, or is it a unibody?
It's
know,
a
where-
unibody, but
It
it's
had some
structural.
aluminum frame of some kind that the
Yeah.
bumper was attached to.
Do you think a truck
Tow
would be
hitch.
perform better if it had a traditional frame like a truck?
No.
That vehicle, is that what
Yeah.
you're saying? Oh, I don't think it matters. It's a
No.
It's too goddamn
garbage
heavy.
no matter what. Okay, enough of that because none of us would drive one anyway.
Okay.
Yeah. We
just
could go
want
for
to
hours
remind,
on that.
Yeah, just bashing on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be super fun.
Everybody does that. It's tried.
Yeah, exactly.
You could also go behind the bowling alley and bash that garbage can too. But I mean, who's counting?
Right. Yeah, I
That
mean,
one would hold up better.
might. And it wouldn't catch fire in the rain.
Right.
Okay.
Or in the garage.
I would like to remind everybody that we're doing the build a car challenge here, Ultimate Road Trip Cruiser. If you want to join in on the fun, go back to episode 50, give it a listen. All the rules are listed there, and you can send those to us at untitledcarproject@gmail.com.
And that's
Yes.
coming up in 2 weeks.
Yeah, about
Yes.
that. Yep. Get it to us by what the 14th? That's a Monday.
Something like that.
That would
Do
work.
you guys think we should post, if we can get our builds done early, we should post them to our social and see what our
No.
listeners say?
No,
No?
No.
Okay.
we can wait.
Okay.
Probably wouldn't post them anyway. Because
Okay.
our social media guy, he's like, whew,
I've been doing good lately.
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Let's not even go down that
That's
road.
it's 2 in a row.
Yeah.
Good job. Episode 50.
There was 2?
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 in 2 weeks. It was good.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I missed one of them. No, I didn't. I saw it. Yeah. Give us a follow on the social medias and on the podcast, and tune in again next week, and we'll do it all over again.
Yeah. And thanks for coming on tonight, Brett.
Yeah. Thanks for having
being
me.
here.
It was a
Appreciate
good time.
Thanks for
Yeah.
having me.
We'll do it again one day.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.